All right.
Welcome to another episode Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Mike.
Woo!
That was a big puff on the name Mike. I like that.
Hmm.
You're a classy gentleman. I love that about you, Mike. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, brother?
Well, my name is Mike, aka Shibby. That's what a lot of people know me as, Shibby. I'm a writer. I like to play games. I work a lot, and pretty much just your average individual gentleman living the life of the dream, I guess.
See, all right, you say Shibby, but you can't be average with a name like Shibby. Why Shibby?
Well, a long time ago when I was a kid, not really a kid, I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. I was playing bass in a friend of mine's garage, and I just was just making beats and stuff, nothing real like, great or anything. And he's just like, dude, that's a shibby beat. You know what? That's a really, shibby beat. And I was like, well, what the hell does that mean? Anyway, it didn't dawn on me until about like maybe 2 or 3 days later, I want to say. Oh, we were at school and everyone just called me Shibby. Like it was just, and people just kept on coming around and was like, hey, that's Shibby over there. And I was like, what the hell? Why is everyone calling me that? And then I remembered my friend, saying, when I was playing bass, like, oh, that's a Shibby beat. And that's the only kind of connection. And then about a year or 2 years later, the movie Dude, Where's My Car came out. And that kind of like really solidified the nickname for me, where I was just like, all right, because I have like, that outgoing kind of personality where, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious sometimes, but I always try to be positive and have everyone have fun. So like, when that, not only the name like happened, but like a whole persona kind of happened, just because like, I like to be, that guy that would just run up on people like, hey, what are y'all doing? Let's have some fun. And so it just kind of made a whole persona really after, I got that nickname.
That is the best fucking playwright I have ever heard. You could literally be like, it was the day Mike died and Shibby was born.
Pretty much, man. I mean, I started getting like more and more friends. I started getting accepted into like better, I guess, social classes. You know how like high schools and are, you got like your emos, your goths, your jocks. And I was, in the crowds of them all. And I mean, I would play sports and I was also in drama school. So it was kind of like, the in between where I was not a jock, but I was also not as much as a geek or nerd, I guess. I was just kind of like an all around, like I just wanted to know and get to know everybody.
So, okay, now this brings into a big question in my mind is when it comes to the name Shibby, though, do you write it down on your paychecks and do you use it on any documents?
No, unfortunately not, because it's not legal. I only use it for my Facebook page just because um it is my main Facebook page that I use my nickname on, only because like so many people know me as that name that, I mean, hell, I'll talk to a friend of mine that I've known for years and be all like, talking about myself. And I always talk to myself with my real name. I'm always like, oh, come on, Mike, learn to spell, or, oh, Mike, you missed the damn turn, or, things of that sort. And when I say that to like someone that's only known me as Shibby, they kind of go, who the hell are you talking to? I'm like, what? You don't know my real name is Mike? Like after all these years,
It's
bro?
my
What the
alter
hell?
ego. Like,
Yeah, like it's coming out.
the reason why I said it is because my name's Robbie, but my real name's Robert. So on every single thing when I like applied for a job, it said Robbie. So then when I went to go do my taxes and shit, they're like, this is not going to count towards Robert. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, that's your real birth name. So you basically just screwed over your whole taxes. I was like, so when I didn't even have medical insurance and you guys were taking medical out of my paychecks, where the fuck did that go? And like, it became this whole thing where it was like, even signing my paychecks, my bank just learned like, okay, his name is Robert, but he signs it Robbie. So like I had so many paychecks I had to get reprinted and stuff. And I'm like,
Oh my
look,
god.
I haven't gone by that since the day of my birth. It's been Robbie.
Right.
I have like 4 different people in my house named Rob. So it's all like this whole scenario. So then I feel like I've been lied to where I'm like, when people say Robert now, it's like, if you say that, I know you're pissed off at me. Like the back of my neck hairs come up because
Yeah.
that's a professional name. But then I'm like, my middle name is after a famous composer. So it's like this whole, I'll let you guess it. Take a shot.
Um I'm gonna say Bach, but I know I'm probably wrong.
It's Sebastian Bach.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my middle name is Sebastian, and I usually say like the sea crab. But then my mom was like, "Oh yeah, I would have called you Bass," and I'm like, "You fucking went with Robbie instead of calling me Bass. Like, you know how
Wow.
badass that's the kid that shanks other kids. That's a kid that shibbies other kids in school. That's where I went with your nickname. I'm like, he's shibbing
Oh, that's
people.
awesome. Oh, hell yeah. And I mean, you just got to think like, what if there's like another Robbie out there that's experiencing like, the exact opposite, where it's like, you know, I'm getting all these paychecks, in my name. I should probably start cashing some bitches.
It's like, yeah, did you know that dude Robert has like 50,000 paychecks, but you don't have a single one? It's like, what is happening? When am I ever going to get paid? I've been here 30 years.
It's like that guy that was in Batman vs Superman, where Bruce Wayne was sending him all these paychecks and he never cashed one. And I'm going, bro, you got a paycheck by Bruce Wayne. Come on, like I mean, if he's sending them every week and stuff, why don't you just at least cash one? One of them has to be at least 10K, at least,
And that's not even a
and
fraction out of his bank account.
no, not at all. I mean, well, if we're really gonna sum up anything about Bruce Wayne's millions of dollars, I mean, it's all like, I don't know how to really, I don't even think you could put a number on, like Scrooge McDuck. You can't put a number on all those coins, that he dives into. I mean,
Would you
it's
do
just
that
not
if you had a
possible.
lot of money? Because I once was gifted $100 for like my birthday from a grandparent, and they were all in ones, and I felt like the biggest baller in the world, where I was walking around with this fat freaking wad of cash.
Hey, uncle, here, have another, shrimp on me, bro. Stuffing dollar bills and family members, top pockets and stuff, thinking you're, Don Corleone or something.
I did do that. I'm not gonna
Here's your
lie.
present. Oh man, I mean, my grandmother gave me $20 once, and it was all in change, and I was so happy. And the thing is, like, I was wearing these like loose fitting shorts, and I put the change, just $20 of quarters, in my pocket, and I could just feel it weighing on me. And so I asked her, I was like, "Is it all right if like I can, have cash instead and stuff?" And she just looked at me as if I, farted and didn't say excuse me. She was just like, what is wrong with you? Why I gave you $20 in coin and now you want cash? And I was like, well, I want to exchange the 20 you gave me. You know what? Never mind. Just I would get like these, horrible backstories, that my grandmother would give me and stuff. Like, oh, in my day, we would have to, work so hard just to get a shingle. And I'm like, what the hell is a shingle?
If you were
The
a
shit on top of roofs?
if you were a smart kid when you got the change, I would literally probably try and ask for change, mostly because it makes you feel like you have a lot of money, but then you get to pelt the coins at people if they really piss you off. So you're just sitting on the street with like a handful of pennies. It's like a handful of rocks.
Well, a friend of mine back in Hawaii, he was such an asshole. We were driving around Waikiki like really late at night, where all like the hookers, prostitutes, pimps, and everything were around and stuff. And my friend, he was a scrapper, and he, really, really didn't like, a lot of people. So what he did was he would grab like the change from my ashtray in my car and literally would chuck it at like pimps and stuff, and be having them chasing our damn car. And then he'd be like, no, no, stop, bro, stop. I'm gonna fight him. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not about to go to the morgue for you. No, no, we're not stopping. And yeah, he would just do that kind of stuff. And that's just kind of remind me of him just chucking pennies at, like these, horrible kinds of people and stuff, like especially pimps, or like
We call that
um
street justice.
yeah, exactly. Or if he was driving and it would be a rainy day, like he would just go through puddles that would have like bicyclists and stuff. Oh man, he hated bicyclists. I don't know what it was. He just
Have
hated
you
them so much.
All right, so the first time I went to Hawaii and I learned that there was a thing called transvestites. So there's a giant warning for from my grandmom for me, because we're allowed to go out like if we wanted to go to the beach or something, even if it was nighttime. Because technically, like really early, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning times I get up normally back home, are usually like pretty in the middle of the night in Hawaii, just because the time difference. So she's like,
Yeah.
just don't go out onto the street. If anything, just go to the pool or something. So I was like, all right, I'm going down to the pool. I go down to the lobby. When you're 14 years old, you're not just stopping at the lobby or doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to turn and be like, well, there's the street right there. So I went out in front of this hotel and I see these like really tall women. And I'm like, wow, like that's a tall woman. And I started like kind of walking by, and then I go, hey, sweetie, how you doing? And then I'm just like, I'm like, what? And I looked, and it was like the manliest woman I had ever seen in my entire life. And I'm like, are you a dude? And then all he goes, who asked? I'm like,
Oh
holy
shit!
shit. Like it was one of those moments where I'm like, and it leads.
Oh my god!
Oh my God. Like that's a moment where you literally fear for your life and your asshole. Like I was like so scared that I didn't know that was the thing. I came home and it's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, did you want some breakfast? I'm like, I don't want anything ever, at any moment in my life.
So, how was your night? Fine. It was great.
I
I
don't,
want to go to
I need
bed.
more quarters.
Those things in Hawaii are called mahoos.
Well, look, Mike, I got a little bit of background information on you, which I normally don't do. Besides your outstanding record when it comes to parking tickets, I want to talk about what Robert Solomon had just mentioned to me about your show.
Uh-oh.
I had no freaking clue it was an audio drama.
Ah, yeah, the Fear of the Wasteland audio drama. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Um I've actually been writing it for a while now. Like and only just about, I want to say 2 months ago, I put together this amazing team, and they're just amazing. Like I can't. I'm so honored with all of them. They're all like really super amazing.
Okay, give me the backstory behind the show. What is it about? Where does it take place? How does it happen? And can I be a voice? That's my big thing. I love doing voices. I love impressions. If you do a part, please tell me which one you do and I want to hear it.
Well, I don't really do a part. I mean, I am trying to. Well, the one part that I'm really wanting to do, but I think I'm probably going to end up with another voice actor to do it, just because I left the voice acting scene a year ago to pursue another project, and that didn't really work out. So now I'm kind of like, if I really just want to just be a writer. I just want to be a working writer. That's all, and I don't want to voice anything in my own projects. I want to be kind of like the Michael Bay of all my projects. I just want to make shit explode and walk off set and with my big old heart on, just say, yeah, I made things explode. But
Wait, are you
it's
telling me that
about
you gave up? You want to do this part, but you're giving it to somebody else because you feel like you kind of left the scene, but also they might be able to do it a little bit better.
Yeah, because I want everything to have a justice to it. Like when I built up these characters, like the principal and Bertree are the two main characters in this first season, and I mean they are, well, I mean the principal is a certain kind of character that I had kind of like that voice for. Like when I'm writing characters, I immediately will think of a voice for them. Or I'll like think of an actor and I will just immediately try and be like, what qualities of that actor can I add to this one character and take away, and kind of like, creation type things of characters where I want to add in, take out, and make it my own. So like with the principal and Bertree, like I had certain voices in my head already for them, and so I would just write while I was listening. Like like they had dialogue, I would listen to each of them inside my head and just kind of write out the dialogue and stuff, and I would just be like, okay. And then hearing like rehearsals, like when Rob and Katie and Morgan and Brendan, when they're acting out these characters, they're doing them a justice. Me, I feel like if I were to do any of my own characters, I feel like I wouldn't do them a justice, because like, as weird as it sounds, I designed the character, but I have no idea like how I would act as that character. As weird as that sounds, it's like I really want that character to do a justice for, to be unique and to stand out and to, pretty much be, either favorable or hated. Because I also do, bad characters too, where I also want audiences to hate the hell out of them. Or I want them to love them so much where they just can't hate them. And I know
Shibby,
that, you know,
you're a
huh.
saint. You're a saint, Shibby. I don't think anybody in the world would give up a role that they want to do just because somebody else would fit the better prescription, or I guess the better description for that. That's an amazing move. And you're right though, but when it comes to characters, that is the whole flow of the show. People get invested in that first couple of minutes with whatever character gets brought into a situation, whether it's in an audio drama. People either want to look up to the main hero, but then it's like the reason why The Mandalorian was so freaking popular was because the dude was silent as fuck. But like the whole time I'm watching it, and then I get to episode 7 or whatever, and he's just like does like these random funny moments. People around him make him funny, but he's also the best part about his character was that he wasn't the like the A1 perfect that you see in every single movie. Like he's climbing up this giant building or climbing up this
Yeah.
giant vehicle, gets knocked down by some Jawas, and then gets knocked out. And every time it's like, damn, dude, it's like, how can you even call yourself a Mandalorian? You're just making it by the skin of your teeth. Then he took off his helmet, and I'm like, put the fucking helmet back on. Like, I don't like you anymore. Like, it was that mysterious factor of things. But
Yeah.
when it comes to an audio drama, so exactly where does it take place? Like, what's the whole thing about?
Well, think of American Horror Story meets the Fallout series, like, or the Fallout games, pretty much, because I've always loved Fallout. Fallout's been, you know, like a staple with me for shoot ever since I played Fallout 1.
Mm,
And it was at a friend of mine's house, and he was like, "Hey man, do you like RPG games?" And me, I the only games I ever played was like the wrestling games and Tony Hawk. Up to that point, that was it. I was, just, getting the first generations of things, right when the PlayStation was coming out and stuff. And he was like, "Well, let me show you this game. It's on the computer, and you're gonna have to learn how to play on the keyboard and stuff. But let me show you." And man, as soon as like I just got my fingers on those keys and learned everything, I was just blown away. Like, I loved the storyline, I loved the graphics, and if you ever seen anything of Fallout 1, the graphics are just basic third level person, like how you would play Diablo. Like, if you're playing Diablo, that's the same kind of setup with the dungeons and the caves and stuff. And well, the series is pretty much about each series is going to be something different, because I don't want to have just one season. I want to have as many seasons as we can go about. And this first season is going to be pretty much just, from start to finish, we're going to focus on these two characters and everything around them. Because the Wasteland, I mean, the title alone, Fear the Wasteland, is, I want it to have, where audiences listen to it, they're going to be, okay, so this is
yeah.
more serious, more of a horror genre.
I'm envisioning
um
like the scene for Borderlands where you see the skag jump out in front of the screen, and next thing you know, gets hit by a
yeah.
truck, and then there's "Ain't No Rest for the Wicked." I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and actually one of those songs was my main inspiration, Shortchange Hero. I love that song so much. And there's even other certain songs that will get my mind clicking, where I'm like, okay, I need to write something about this, because you know what, this song just resonates with me so much. So like when Shortchange Hero came on, I just was like, oh man, that's the song I really want to, formulate that into some sort of storyline, because just already the song itself is a story, but I just kind of want to draw inspiration from that to put in my own kind of, stories and stuff. And but yeah, like I yeah, that's
Lost the train of thought, didn't you?
yeah, pretty much. I'm like,
Welcome
wait,
to
what are
Out
we
of the
talking about
Blank
again?
podcast. But a little bit about the
Where
show, for
are we,
instance, like
man?
Fear the Wasteland, like I'm already picturing a guy on a horse, or maybe if it's a nuclear kind of fallout type scenario, maybe he's just walking Mad Max style in that kind of uniform, but like a bandolier of bullets, these types of things where it's like, why don't you come up here and get a cold sarsaparilla? And it's like, all right, and you sit down and think, next thing you know, some giant thing comes out of nowhere and starts attacking the place, and you got to fight it off. I think the gore is probably my favorite part about Fallout, not only just the type of
Yeah,
scenario and music that gets played, but I think the best part about RPGs is the fact you get to invest into a character, but you pick the basic template, and then off that, which you can derive into your own kind of traits and personality into your own character. But like we look at like Borderlands, for instance, you get to pick a gunslinger, you get to pick a assassin, you get to pick all these different types. It's a lot like Dungeons and Dragons. I think that's pretty fascinating because of the fact of it shows best capabilities of what your personality is going to be, because your first playthrough is always the guy you try the fucking hardest to make yourself. I remember
Right.
my buddy pre-ordered Fallout 4, got it, downloaded it, spent 4 hours just customizing his character to make him look like him. And I'm like, dude, I'm already like at level 10. He goes, I just finished making my character. Now off to bed. I'm like, what? He goes, I'm going to save this for tomorrow. I got to work in the morning. I'm like, dude, you just wasted so much time like not playing the game. I was already level 20 by the time he was just entering out of the bomb shelter. I'm like, it's that whole thing though, because once you go off from the video games, you start to learn the lore and the story. The best part about audio dramas is you can take it wherever you want. You can base
Hmm.
it off of a certain template, but then having that weird backstory that all the Fallout shelters were bomb experiments where they would lock one dude in there with a bunch of puppets, and you start reading all that, and you're like, yo, this is like The Walking Dead, except it's not the same shit every season. It's something better that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. And the lore, like what you said, is what drew me in the very first time around. And even with Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, I mean, I love them all. And even Borderlands, playing all those games and stuff, the stories behind it all. I mean, it was more like, I mean, when you're playing video games, at least for me, it's like, when you're playing them and you're listening to the story and stuff, I mean, it's more visual and everything else. And, having to do audio dramas is like, and this is the first one I'm ever doing. I'm used to working with, visuals, cartoonists, so much other kind of things. Even a friend of mine and me, we started our own little hidden show where it's called Frank and Phil, and it was super funny. And me and him, we'll still do it every once in a while, but it's one of those side projects that we only do when we want to have fun. Because he has so much stuff going on his plate, and I have a lot of stuff on mine, so it's kind of like a vacation from our creations, because we work so hard at them that me and him will sometimes group up and do an episode of Frank and Phil. And it's just the two of us. He does everything else. I just do the voice of Frank and then move on with my day, and he does all the animations, the drawings. I'll do most of the writing for episodes. He'll do most of the creating and whatnot. And it's just like I said, just like a vacation from our creations. But with dang it, what was I going to say? I
Well,
had a
for
thought.
season one, for instance, like give me a quick description of season one in case anybody out
Yeah.
there listening wants to be like, oh, that sounds like a trailer. Like, what's the trailer?
Well, the trailer is it's about these it's well pretty much about a guy named Kirk Kilpatrick. He's a principal of Vault Tech University. And before the war, actually, they were building this prototype vault here in Lawton, Oklahoma. And that's kind of where this all takes place, is in Oklahoma for this one season. And it takes place in Oklahoma. And he is, a volunteer to test out this prototype vault. And well, what ends up happening is, the Great War happens, and they, are putting more people into this vault. And pretty much, he's been in the vault a year before the Great War, ever since started, and now he's in there for another 20 years. And then we kind of open up like a little bit of backstory of what's going on in the vault. And then we have, when he leaves the vault, and when he leaves the vault, he meets Bertree, which is, the second main character of the series. And they pretty much, are going to go on an adventure, not adventure. They're going to pretty much go on a mission to, find certain things. I'm not going to give too much away on it. They're going to go and find certain things, and then they're going to meet certain characters along the way. And throughout their travels, they're going to have some crazy things happening, mainly like mutated things that you would find only in Oklahoma. Like, we have these things called rad hoppers, and they're just these huge grasshoppers, because out here grasshoppers are so freaking annoying. They're everywhere, and they will fly, and they will get inside your mask, and you're just like, ah, get off of me. And they're just horrible little fuckers. That's all I gotta say. I hate them. And so when I was dealing with those things, I kind of thought, what if these things were 10 times larger, and they had radiated claws, and if they jumped on you, you're dead. And I always think about that, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna add that into the story. And so I mean, we run into some rad hoppers and stuff. There's also going to be some cryptids as well, because I drew inspiration from Fallout 76, because they were adding
Mothman.
Wendigos and Mothman. Yeah. And I drew inspiration, and that got me researching, well, what kind of cryptids would be out here in Oklahoma? And what really got me was the octopus. I was like, how the hell is there an octopus out here in Oklahoma? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Octopuses are saltwater things and whatnot. Well, come to find out that if you raise an octopus in fresh waters, it can survive, and all that science and stuff. And then I was thinking, well, what if if there was an octopus for real out here, like how the cryptids say that there's been octopus sightings, and there's been people getting like captured, and they'll find like tentacle suction cups on their leg, and there's no way to explain it and stuff. And so I got me thinking, like, what if we take that octopus, and we just drop a nuclear bomb on him, and he gets radiated, and just this huge thing. And that's going to be like one of those when they're traveling, and they see like there's this octopus out of water that is just huge. It's kind of like those parts where it's like a boss battle, where this thing comes up out of nowhere, and you have nowhere to run, and you need to go ahead and kill this thing. How you're going to do it, no idea. You're going to have to think on your toes to get that going. And I mean, they meet so much other things, other characters along their way. And um pretty much, yeah, like the trailer is just that, that's pretty much it. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of like, what I'm bringing is, I'm gonna bring out the horrors of the Wasteland, and how these two react to each of those horrors. Like with the octopus, what they're gonna do when that appears. And that's going to be exciting. And it is definitely an exciting part to write too. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
can't
mean
tell you how
free
much.
creativity, especially if you add nuclear. Like I got an idea for a character. You can tell me if it's shit. I'm fine with that. I take constructive criticism wisely, but I'm thinking when the bombs fall. So this all takes place like as it's kind of happening, the people that didn't get into the shelters. There's a
Yeah,
dude that is in trouble with a bookie. Like, they take him to the end of like maybe this lake or this little pier or something, and they just fucking light him up. I mean with a machine gun. One dude just lights him up to kill the guy, get rid of him. Kind of like Gotham, but where they're about to shoot the penguin or whatever into the thing.
oh yeah,
He falls into the water as the bombs are falling. So there's that initial first blast of dust that kind of propels him to go faster, like fall, like kind of like fly basically. And he falls.
yeah,
And as he's sinking into the water, and now the radiation's coming with that second wave, he lands in that fucking Indiana Jones scene where, like, that Indiana Jones, where he gets in the refrigerator. There's a
yeah,
refrigerator underwater that he falls into, and it just like the fucking thing just shuts from the force of the nuke. Then the metal inside the refrigerator fuses into his skin, kind of like the heat kind of absorbs into, like, so they fuse together. And then he comes out,
yeah,
he's a whole nother character that's like half fucking machine, but he's always wears the mask because I like the mask factor.
yeah.
But he's like part metal and shit. Like his bones are fused with like adamantium, kind of like Wolverine. But then he's
That's fucking
also like
cool.
ghoulish too, because he got hit with the fucking radiation, but all the bullets
Yeah,
that were inside of him made like those certain areas like metal. So when he gets shot now, like people shoot him like in the chest, like bam, bam, bam. Like, why the fuck isn't he dying? Is he a zombie? No, it's because he's got metal infused in his skin. So it's like fucking armor.
yeah, dude, that would actually be a badass like boss character, to be honest with you. Like, and you can name him like oh god, I suck at naming characters, but oh my god, that would be really cool to have. Because even if like it is a boss battle, and you have to figure out certain ways, like, okay, if he's only like maybe metal on these parts of his body, and
Well, not
you
even
have to like
not
shoot.
even killing them either, but like maybe you fight them, like, how some of those boss battles you get, and then that person ends up joining the fucking team.
Yeah,
Like,
and that'd be a
dang.
badass team member right there. He's gonna fuck shit up and make sure, like, hey, we're about to go and infiltrate this compound. hey, you come over here. You're pretty much indestructible. And he's like, yes, I got it. And then he just goes in there, ah! And then everyone's shooting at him and stuff. And he just grabs people's throats and just rips them out, and then beats the shit out of them with the entrails.
He's got the
Like
fucking metal
whipping
hand,
them.
like Will Smith from I Am Legend, or not I Am Legend, I Robot, where it fucking goes in.
Oh,
He's got a
I
lot of
Robot.
movies that
Yeah,
start with an I.
yeah, he does, doesn't he?
That's
I Am Legend, I
that's two
Robot.
movies. That's a lot to me.
Yeah, that is. Well, I mean, two, a couple, most.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the best part
Man, I
about these
do.
audio dramas is how pumped up you can get when a character starts either coming to light, and then you get to hammer out the details of stuff. He could have his fucking hands like welded or mixed up with like fucking where he could put attachments on it and shit, like a fucking Swiss Army knife. Or you
Upgrades.
want your fucking grilled cheese cut? Here's a scissors on my hand, and just Mr. Go Go Gadget, you know.
Hey, I got butter coming out of my eyeballs for you. Phew.
Somebody
You
open
know,
up this
like
sarsaparilla, just pops into a bottle opener and pops it up for you. This is all you guys used me for. What the fuck?
another sarsaparilla. God damn it! I'm meant to destroy and kill. Why won't you let me do what I want to do?
My name is Voltic, but now I'm just known as a fucking bottle opener for every time you guys want to drink a beer.
Oh man, and also he wouldn't even need to be turned on or anything. If there was an off switch, you could just go ahead and go over there. All right, you know what? He's off duty right now. We'll just go ahead and keep using him to open up our bottle
Well,
caps and stuff.
he's still human, just infused with metal. I was either thinking the refrigerator part because I like the whole mafioso, like you just like survive this crazy ass like about to be murdered type thing. Like nobody's gonna
Yeah,
know like how did that happen to you, and you'd be like, I was near something and I got weld or the heat melted me into the fucking metal, but they wouldn't know the mafia backstory or like the kind of craziness to it. Or maybe you got a scoutmaster like a boy scout. I know they're not the best right now, but fucking in the woods like in a campfire or just doing something like maybe like learning how to climb a tree, and he gets fused in with the plant, so he's like part fucking tree. Like you ever see Pirates of the Caribbean at
yeah,
Dead Man Tell No Tales or the At World's End, whichever one? The dude was like half sea, he was like a ghost of the sea. The back of his head
yeah.
was fucking missing. I was like, imagine if you did that, but instead it was roots coming out of that part of his head. So like he was like
Yeah.
he could learn how to like heal people like by using like some type of like mystical like honeysuckle juice that comes out of his fucking hands and shit. Like I don't know, something crazy. You can go
That's
so
cool.
fucking crazy with a nuke wasteland scenario.
Yeah, and this you can do so many things like that, and that's what even when the cast members and stuff, they'll come up with ideas like that, and I just get super excited because I'm like, dude, that sounds super cool, and I'm always like that upbeat, positive guy. So even if someone has like a bad character idea, I won't say it's bad, but I'll say, well, let's do this, let's make it better. Let's what I think it's a great character, but let's try this. Let's add starfish to his eyeballs and really make him stand out. Let's do this and
Dude,
try
dude,
and
he get fuses with a fucking bear. And then he's part fucking bear because he's like, and like
uh,
it's the Revenant scenario. This dude, like, while the bombs are about to fall, like he's like fighting a fucking bear, and this bear jumps on top of him, and it's kind of like a shield, like where you climb inside the creature, and it fuses in. So he's got like part bear, like his hands are bear claws. Imagine that shit. I don't know, fucking
oh,
go
dude.
nuts with that. He can become the enforcer that just like picks people
I
up and
am.
kills them.
I'm seriously like on creativity overload and stuff. I mean, today is my writing day, so I'm like, when I go to my character log, I think I'm gonna add in a couple of details now because that is really cool. Like, with a bear, I mean, if you could picture it just as like right when the bear is going over to the dead body and he's not even all that dead yet. He's about to chomp down, nuke just falls and all that radiation and stuff. And in his last desperate hope of trying to die peacefully, he just goes ahead and hugs the bear and starts punching it and stuff. And in that whole moment, when the radiation cloud is covering this whole place, that's when they get fused, and we can kind of and it'll be, uh, like talked about, described in the audio drama and stuff, like how
He could be a
intricate
legend.
and
He could be a
yeah,
like a folklore like Bigfoot, but it's bear like think of like a cool ass like bear man type scenario. And then like he comes out like he's just legend, but then he turns out the stories are obviously glamored up like a lot, like kind of like how folklore is usually done. And he's just
yeah,
sitting in a bar, and next thing you know, he freaks out like Wolverine or something when somebody like goes and like gets into a fight with him. And like instead of like his heart's dying, and then you have when the nukes fall and he fuses together with the thing, he absorbs the bear heart and his heart becomes stronger, which gives him his super strength and his fucking like
yeah.
outrageous, like he's tougher than your average bear, like that whole thing. Like
And then when he's like taking chems and stuff, like there could be like other altercations that happen to him, like he'll grow furrier so that way he's like nothing but like, or some
chems
parts of
bring
his
out the
fur.
bear, bro. Chems bring out the
Yeah, like
bear.
the angry bear in him, even though like he's controlling it most by his human side, especially when he's at a bar, people are like, oh, look at this hairy son bitch, da, 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 and he's just like, oh, come on, let's gotta relax. Like, he'll hulk out if like, he gets too angry or too excited or something of that sort. And I mean, he won't like maybe physically change, maybe he will, like he'll go like out a little bit more and shit, and he just goes berserker on everyone that
Like the movie
and he just
Split,
sees
where the
red.
dude becomes like he thinks that he's becoming the monster and his bones start
Yeah,
changing. Like that could be him, except when he changes, it might not be as drastic as turning into a bear, but might just be he gets hairier and then his arms and like back and everything, like his upper body gets bigger, kind of like a bear a little bit. Then he can just pick up like cars and shit and throw them. And then another
yeah,
one I was thinking is you could have a tragic scenario where the guys are discovering a vault, and there's a dude that was in the vault suit when the bombs dropped, but it didn't close all the way. It malfunctioned, and he got melted into the suit where he's stuck in it and he can't get it off. So, but the power core, he's got to keep finding power cores because that's what's keeping him alive.
yeah.
So once his power core runs
Oh,
out, that's his whole mindset is I need to find a power core. I need to find a power core. I need to find a power core. And once his power cores are gone, he's gone. So then it's this whole like life or death scenario where he doesn't give a shit about any of these guys, but he's got to keep trying to find these power cores.
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, are you a writer? No.
I just
Because
have
like
a
the way
very
that you like,
wacky creativity.
yeah, and that's awesome, man. I mean, that is really cool, and that's kind of like, where I come from on my characters is like, I try and figure out, what are they going to be using for health reasons? What are they going to be using for even addict reasons? And sometimes you just got to get in that frame of mind where it's like, okay, I'm a bear, I'm a man, and someone just handed me some jet and some pickaxe, so I'm gonna drink that and take that, and oh god, and then just get all raged out and stuff. And it just creating characters like that is amazing, and it's so great that when you actually do witness that actually happening, you just kind of sit there and go, holy shit, did I create that?
Literally, you could have like nobody has ever really done like who dropped the bombs. We know that it was a war type scenario, but maybe you had one guy that self-destruct one of our own nukes at the facility, and that dude became like he was dead center where the impact was because he's the one that pulled the thing down and caused it all. He somehow survived like a ghoulish freak monster, like maybe like just like the upper part of his body, no legs, like one arm type thing, and he ends up like fusing himself together and then starts experimenting. We're on like
Yeah,
capturing creatures. He ends up capturing those guys we just created, and next thing you know, he's turning them evil. He's corrupting them with some type of chemical and trying to make his own world and his own new vision. And he could be like a fucking evil scientist. I don't know. Every thing has an evil scientist involved in it.
everything does have an evil scientist. Or what you could do is, that guy, that first dropped the bomb and whatnot, like maybe he was trying to do this weird experiment where he wanted hybrid humans, like like we hear it in Fallout a lot, like the creation of super mutants, the creation of robo brains, and all that sort. So like, what if we take that guy and they like maybe a search and rescue team after the bombs fall go and find his body and his head is still intact and stuff, and they kind of like do a Mr. House thing where they wire his brain into a supercomputer because he's involved in all these kind of experiments and stuff. And then he goes and said, "Look, I know that there's a half man, half bear, half fridge thing out there. I need you guys to go find it. I know that there's a half human, half ghost that got molded by the nuclear explosions because the ectoplasma and radiation have this weird effect on the human body." And and he's like collecting all of these monsters because he wants to have the ultimate protection. And the way he's going to do that is putting microchips in all of these things so that way he can just press a button and be like, "Hey, we're going to control the world now." Bloop. And all the buttons go off in these creatures, monsters brains, and they have to listen and obey him and stuff. It's kind of like that one vault where the guy has everyone in hibernation sleep, and he goes in their dreams and he
Yeah.
just murders them over and over and over again. And that guy was from Germany or something in the Fallout series. Bronze, I want to say. Crap, I can't remember. It's been so long. But he had this vault constructed just for himself, and he was super smart and stuff.
He
And
was the
he
puppet
had
master.
yeah, puppet master. Thank you. And maybe kind of have something like that where they find that guy and do the exact same thing with him and his monsters, except that he's controlling them to, like he's training them to kill certain things, like kill super mutants, kill Mothmen, kill mole miners, kill pretty much anything that we've already seen in these Fallout games. So that way he's uberly prepared for anything the Wasteland will throw at him.
Call them street freaks. He's got a team of street freaks that are all these different
Yeah.
mashups of like unwanted things or whatever. But the weird part is he's actually evil. He's controlling them all. So like he gets in one of those little pod things, then he takes control of their mind. You could have, I want to see a scenario where one dude is like either molded in, like somehow is like turned into one of the bombs. So like his whole thing is he can't get upset, he can't get pissed off, because then he'll explode and like level a whole fucking wasteland basically. So like either he could be fused with one, or someone put one inside of them where it's like your heart is hooked to this nuke. So if you ever
Oh,
get like, so then like he's got to try his best to keep cool. So then he just teaches himself, like turns into like one of those cattle farmers. He's doing this whole thing where he's trying to keep his mind at peace and stuff and stay away from everybody, just do this. And then some people come and they chop his fucking arm off, and then they find him, like, let's say that this leads up to the time period that your heroes are in, where your heroes see this one freaking armed cattle farmer, and he's talking to him, he's like, "I don't fight." And like all these people are like, they're basically trying to rob him, and he's just like beating them with one stick like a master karate guy. And like, what the hell? And he goes, "You don't want to get me upset." And like, "What are you gonna do? You're gonna turn into the Hulk?" "No." And then he like pulls a piece of his chest, and it's a wide open chest cavity, and it's like his heart, but it's like linked to like a fucking trigger device that's hooked to a
yeah.
bomb or something, where it's gonna explode and another nuke's gonna go off. I'm like, "Oh my god, we got to make sure." And then he's got to, maybe that could be an episode where he's saving the farmer from all these mafia people that he's not choosing to deal with. He's just letting them push him over because he doesn't want to blow up the whole entire world. He's just trying to make a
Yeah.
life. Bam.
And then like there could be another whatchamacallit, like an enemy or a villain or something that's going to kidnap that guy and put him in kind of like a medicinal induced relaxation state. And he has like a ultimate motive where he's gonna pretty much like as soon as he's done building his spaceship or whatever, he's gonna lay waste to the entire United States or however distance that this nuke can be. And he could probably be a part of a line of Vault Tech experiments where they were putting bombs in random people, like as if anyone that went in for a pacemaker during the years of 2076 to 2077, they only like one out of five of them would get hooked up with a nuclear nano bomb or something that is fixing to go off the moment that their heart stops. And this creates like little bombs going throughout the time when all the bombs are going off. So that's why there's so much more radiation. But some of them, like this one guy you're talking about and whatnot, had a different experiment where, you know, they were like looking at him going, oh wow, you know, this guy, he can handle a lot, you know, he's been shot and everything else. Let's put the biggest bomb we can inside of him. And you know, they do that kind of sort of thing. You know, they experiment and they find, you know, a way to put like this uber bomb inside of him, and it's fixing to go off right when, you know, his heart stops.
Well, dude, even
And
like with the whole thing you were mentioning about all these people that were like separate little like triggers, like these little bomb things.
yeah,
Imagine it's like the movie like Tom Cruise where they put all these people in tubes and chambers on ice. So they're just like when they get captured, they're just imprisoned in this like this container where like they don't know time's passing and they're just there. So they're just
yeah,
imprisoned in their own minds. You could have some dude that tries to capture all, like you have like a hall of where you keep all these people just so they don't ever get angry or they just don't have to worry about time. They just stay there so they never have the chance to blow off one of these bombs. Then you have a dude capture these little tube things and try and find every single quarry in the wasteland, stick it down into the quarry. Next thing you know, you got a bunch of bombs in different parts of the wasteland that are all going to explode and literally make a giant crater of what is the wasteland, like fucking mad scientist shit. And that could just be like a whole fucking series or episode or something.
yeah, that could definitely be a whole series where they have to find like all these, you know, missing bombs and stuff. They can like find out on a terminal or something like, okay, 16 out of 20 haven't been disengaged. So that means, you know, there's 16 more bombs out there that we have to look for, and each bomb has a tracker. So now we first have to find a tracker device and stuff. So they find the tracker device, and then they find out that, you know, all these things are close by, but you know, there's going to be like certain obstacles in their way in order for them to not, you know, get it so easily. I mean, they might find like one or two, like, oh, well, here's this guy lying on the ground, his bomb didn't detonate, let's grab him and, you know, put him with the, you know, with the rest and stuff. And so like, you know, they collect all the, you know, those people and everything, only just to find out the person that they're working for to collect all of them is like this evil genius mad scientist type of guy that's going to use them to create one big bomb and you know, blow up like his enemy or something, or blow up this peaceful area or this peaceful
10
state or
penny
something of that
towers,
sort.
bro. 10 penny
Yeah.
towers. Let
Yes.
me pay you in caps.
Ooh.
Oh, dude, like you could literally have it where like even if one of the bombs, like the dude dies and they're like, oh no, and like the dude's literally dying, like there's no way to bring him back and they don't have a way to defuse one of the bombs, so this bomb's gonna go off. They just shoot jet inside of them, so it slows everything down. And then while they do that, they defuse the bomb, gives them more time. Like fucking
Oh yeah, and that would definitely create some on the edge of the seat, like, oh my god, are they going to defuse it in time? Are they going to blow up? And hell, we can even end that on a cliffhanger on that episode where it's just like, you know, the guy just says, "Oh no." And then we just go out with the outro music and stuff. You know, oh, tune in next week for episode 9 of Fear of the Wasteland.
so do you have merch?
No, no, not
You
yet. We're
need to get
still.
merch because I want to rep a t-shirt. I fucking love this, dude. This is like this is one of the I love these types of podcasts, especially I never really get to talk to anybody that has a fucking badass wasteland show like this, man. Like obviously those ideas that we're tossing out aren't stuff that's on the show, but it's stuff that can be like that on the show.
Yeah.
It can be that craziness to it.
Yes, and I mean, I don't have like a lineup for every season so far. I think I have a lineup for 1, 2, possibly 3. And I know I want to do as many as possible, just because the possibilities of the wasteland are just almost endless. Like you can think of anything. You can start from a pebble and just, you know what, that pebble, you know, just because it was in the wasteland is now radioactive, and you can put that pebble in this glass jar and, you know, just keep building and building and building, and it just becomes like it snowballs into this big creative mess, or organized chaos of mess. And it's like, wow,
Shout
that's
out to Morgan
beautiful.
and her art company, Organized Chaos.
Yes. See how I added that in there?
Well, hey, look, Mike, you've given me enough of your time, dude, man. Please promote the show, dude. I literally had so much fun creating shit. I know that's like my mind goes off on some weird tangents, dude, but you really I like that kind of factor. And the whole factor when I said in the beginning of how you were a saint, like I meant that, dude. And a lot of
Thank
people
you.
wouldn't want to lose the position they want to do just to make their show better. They would want to play their part. And you're like, if I see somebody that's better fit for the position, like, Yeah, I want the show to do justice. I want it to be the perfect representation because the best part I love about audio dramas is when you're listening to them, like they can take you to an escape. And especially with everything nowadays always has to do with space and shit. It's like, all right, I get it. Star Trek and Star Wars are pretty cool, but I would like
Yeah,
something that's on Earth Mad Max style. Like that's why that
yeah,
movie became so popular. Plus, audio dramas like with Avatar the movie, that was the only movie that caused severe depression in people because they dreamed of this place called Pandora where they wanted to live. They wanted everything to be like that, and they realized how bad damage they did to this earth. So,
yeah,
showing people what the world can come to and a global destruction and what life could be like, where you're fighting giant rad hoppers that are just these giant like grasshoppers. Like, fuck, like, you're giving, you could even have a giant gnat. You know how pissed off I get at gnats that just fruit fly? Like, what the hell?
oh
And it
man,
eats
or horse
trees.
flies.
Like, God,
Yeah, or horse flies, man. Those things are annoying and they bite. And I'll just be standing there talking to a customer, taking their order, and the next thing I know, ow! What the hell was that thing? Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to cuss in front of you, but what the hell is this thing?
I was bit by a dinosaur.
What is this prehistoric goddamn thing? What the fuck feels?
Well, look, Mike, promote the show, brother, man. Let everybody know where
Thank
they
you.
can find you at.
We'll do. We'll do. Right now, like I said, we're still starting out small. Our Twitter handler, I believe, is Fear Wasteland at Twitter. Um, and Fear the Wasteland at gmail.com. We're still, doing auditions for certain roles that we're going to be having throughout this season and the next. Um, Facebook, Fear the Wasteland page is up, and I'll be promoting that when we release the trailer of the series here soon. I'm working with the cast and everything to get that trailer out soon. I don't know when exactly, but we will be releasing it on our Facebook and Twitter pages once we're done with that, and that will also reveal when the first episode will be airing. And as soon as that happens, then the first episode will also be on every platform that we can possibly get it out there.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I link everything in the description so people can follow it. And thank you for listening to this
Thank you.
episode Out of the Blank podcast.